Sí se puede! Let's get in here.
Mission Playground recently involving two groups of soccer players wanting to use the field at the same time. At the crux of the issue is the city's lack of play space for youth and residents. But this incident has also touched on larger issues concerning gentrification and displacement, and certainly underscores the need for more open space and better resourced open space in our neighborhoods as the density of our city continues to increase. We appreciate and celebrate the passion and care that people have expressed about our parks and this issue in particular. But I want to take an opportunity to clarify a few points regarding our field policies, particularly Mission Playground, and the steps we're taking to ensure our city's youth have every opportunity to get out and play. The Recreation and Park Department reopened the playfield at Mission Playground in May 2012 following a $7.5 million renovation. Part of that renovation converted an asphalt play area into a synthetic turf soccer field with lights for nighttime play, significantly increasing the amount available hours for play at that site. Historically, the asphalt area at Mission Playground was never permitted as an athletic field and was only utilized for open drop-in play, distinguishing this site from other department athletic fields that were customarily and historically permitted for organized structured play due to high demand. The Recreation and Park Department conducted extensive community outreach for this park renovation. All residents within a quarter mile of the park were notified in English and in Spanish, as were 700 community leaders and organizations. 3 well-attended community meetings took place in June and July of 2009. Recreation and park staff also met on several occasions with pickup soccer players on site and with Spanish-speaking translation to discuss the project and their desires. Based on community input and recommendations from pickup soccer players, it was determined that adults would be able to obtain a permit to play from 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, and from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sundays, unless that space was previously booked by youth permitted play. All other times would be reserved for youth leagues or open play. Wednesday and Friday from 6:30 p.m. till close, and Sundays from 1 to 5. That schedule has been posted and in effect since the field opened in May of 2012. Over the last year, that schedule allowed for free or open play 96% of the time. Adults permitted or reserved the space for league or unstructured play 4% of the time at that location. Adults can permit or reserve a field for $27 an hour, but depending on availability. Permits can be obtained quite easily by calling 311 or our office directly, or by email, or by visiting our office. And while we strive to make the permitting process as easy as possible, the reality is there is no existing current mobile app that offers permitting of our fields. Like many people in this room, the department recently became aware of a highly publicized confrontation which occurred at Mission Playfield between adult permit holders and neighborhood youth desiring more open play hours. The confrontation was posted on YouTube, has been widely covered in the media, and has triggered questions and concerns about the existing schedule at Mission Playground in place since 2012. The department has long recognized that our city has limited open space for recreation, and we definitely lack playfields for both young and adults to play. This city's shortage of fields speaks to the importance of our efforts in recent years to renovate our athletic fields with turf and lights. By doing so, we have added nearly 80,000 hours of available play for everyone. But yet, clearly, it's still not enough. The department has recently heard from several youth-serving organizations in the Mission, many of whom I'm sure are represented today, but also organized youth soccer communities requesting additional hours for youth and for open play at Mission Playground. Yesterday, department staff, along with Commissioners McDonald and Bonilla, who I thank very much for participating in the conversation, met at Mission Playground with representatives from some of these community-based organizations, and specifically 4 of the youth involved in the Mission Playground confrontation. These youth, I think I see them in the room, were extremely articulate and underscored our need to continue to fight for fields and for resources that will help ensure our park system can continue to provide them with welcoming, safe places to play. Our department policies and our permit system has always prioritized youth access to parks and fields, and as much time existed for youth and open play under the schedule agreed upon and in place, and as much time existed for youth in open play under the schedule agreed upon in 2012, times change. And these youth convinced me and convinced my staff of the need for even more hours for youth and for open play at Mission Playground. So effective immediately and through a general manager's directive that is being posted this morning, I think we have some copies, we have made the following changes to the schedule at that field. There will no longer be adult permits issued for use of the field. 3 youth permits shall continue to be available until 7 o'clock in the evening every day. The field will be available for open community play from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. every day, including Sunday evenings, which was a change specifically requested by these 4 articulate individuals. And as soon as we can do it, there will be signage placed at the park clearly reflecting this schedule so that we have better communication and better awareness for different types of users at the field. Our engagement yesterday, particularly with the 4 young individuals who spoke, was actually incredibly affirming. It speaks to the passionate importance of our parks and our open space, particularly as this city continues to grow in its density. And so together, I'm hoping we will all unite around that concept and continue to advocate for more fields and more resources for more programs for this city's children. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed to public comment and calling of the names. Is Supervisor here? Oh, please, yes. Supervisor Campos has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Commissioners, Mr. General Manager. I want to thank the Rec and Park Commission for allowing me to speak. And I also want to thank the community members who took time out of their busy schedules to be here today. I'm here to speak about the issue that the General Manager just discussed, and I want to say that watching the youth in that video was for me quite a learning experience. I actually think that the adults who live in the city have a lot to learn from those young people. The way that they carried themselves and the way they got to the very core of the issue by suggesting, why don't we just play together? And I think that that is what we have a responsibility to do. How do we find it so that open space and recreational space is available to everyone? And let me say that I appreciate the efforts of the Rec and Park Department, and I'm grateful to the General Manager and his staff for the fact that they met with these young people and that there are changes instituted at this playground. This playground is not in my district, but the vast majority of people who use this playground are from my district. But I also believe that this issue goes beyond Mission Playground, and that's why I urge this commission to actually look specifically at the policy that you're following when it comes to the use of recreational space. I think that when it comes to reserving fields and playgrounds for purposes of league play, I think that is appropriate and I think that makes sense. But I think that when we're talking about privatizing the use of recreational space, even if it is limited, I think that that is problematic on a number of fronts. One, the fact is that if you are from a low-income family, that privatization, even if it's for a small percentage of the time, does limit your access to recreational space. And I can tell you from my own experience, having grown up in South Central LA, where we live in a one room for 5 people in my family, we did not have a backyard. The parks was the only available space where we could go as kids and play. And that is true for so many people in these neighborhoods. And I know that there's also a debate that's going on as to whether or not we should have, artificial turf or grass, and I respect that there are different positions on that. But I think that irrespective of where you are on that issue, the question before you is, what do we do when we have a limited resource? Because it is clear that we need more fields. Should they be grass? Should they be artificial turf? Whatever your view is, we clearly need more fields. But I don't believe that the answer when you have a shortage of fields is to actually allow for privatization. I actually think privatization makes it worse. And so I think that this is an opportunity for us to come together, and I want to take a lesson from these kids and use this incident as a positive way for the city to come together without vilifying anyone, because even though the adults in that video did not behave the way that I would have liked, I also know that there are many people in that industry who believe that they have to do better. And so I think that there is an opportunity for us to come together as a city. And in the midst of this affordability crisis where families are struggling, the least we can do is to make sure that at least, irrespective of income, they have access to our public space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor.
So I'm going to call the following names: Kelly Watts, Edwin Lindo, Cynthia Cruz, and then Tom Temprano.
About artificial turf.
The New York City Parks Department and the Los Angeles school system no longer install the surface, citing multiple health concerns.
This is the stuff everybody's talking about.
Soccer and football players alike are very familiar with them. The black dots called crumb rubber are actually shredded car and truck tires, contain all the same chemicals found in most tires. The International Agency for Cancer Research labels 4 carcinogens.
You'd get it in your mouth and you wouldn't think about it.
Jordan Swarthout started playing goalie on turf when she was 12 years old. Some weeks in high school practicing as many as 20 hours on crumb rubber. At age 21, Swarthout was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. The former goalie is on Griffin's list, names the coach continues to gather of soccer players who have developed different types of cancer. Annika Jibovic, 18 years old, Emma Loney, 15. Austin Everett died at the age of 25 from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I would have them in my ears. I would have them everywhere. In my hair, I would even blow my nose, and I would have them in the tissue.
Last year, she was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Lolly Walker from Colorado reached out to us about her daughter. Faye played soccer since she was 4 and was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at age 16. A former college football player now battling leukemia. I feel sick to my stomach that the artificial turf can have so many chemicals.
Biology of cancer varies a lot between different cancers. Our own genetics vary, and both of those have a big impact on it.
The doctor came in and he said, in all my years of medical practice, this is the worst x-ray I've ever seen, the worst chest x-ray I've ever seen.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4.
You end up ingesting the crumb rubber accidentally as a goalkeeper. It's unavoidable.
The coach continues to gather of soccer players who have developed different types of cancer.
Many of them are blood or lymph-related cancers, but there were others in there too.
Former professional goalie and reality TV star Ethan Zahn, who has twice beaten non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, have been keeping his own list.
At 4 to 5 times a week, I was on it for hours, sweating, bleeding, everything. And she said, I just think it's something with the field turf.
The former Husky goalkeeper was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma during freshman year of college when doctors discovered a large, deadly tumor.
It was about the size of a little bigger than a softball, and it was right in the center of my chest.
The pain is still fresh for June Leahy. Her daughter, Austin Everett, a star goalkeeper for Seattle's Blanchette High School and later the University of Miami, died a year and a half ago. In 2008, we told you about a Tacoma Stadium High goalkeeper's battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Back then, Luke Beardimple and his family wondered if crumb rubble had played a part in his cancer.
I'll catch it and stop the ball right off the pellets, and they'll go into my face, go into my eyes and my mouth.
In 2008, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission stated that its exposure assessment did not include chemicals or other toxic metals beyond lead. Tires do contain metals and chemicals that had been ruled too toxic to burn in Washington state. The average athletic field uses 27,000 tires.
NBC News repeatedly requested an interview, but after several emails and 2 phone calls, the EPA refused. When we asked the CPSC for an interview in response to our investigation, the agency declined our request. We have posted much more information on our website, along with a dedicated email address for any of our viewers. Tell us your story and...
Commissioners, President, General Manager, thank you so much for having us. This has turned into something much bigger than I think anyone anticipated. On Saturday, we saw the video. It's Thursday. There was about 200 to 300 people standing outside of City Hall demanding that policies made by Park and Rec be changed. But I first want to thank General Manager Phil Ginsburg for meeting with us yesterday. The kids wanted to hear why what occurred happened and why it happened to them. And they were brave. These kids were leaders in their community without even knowing it. And they asked for things, they asked for demands that they not only came up with themselves, but with the community. And one of them was no permitting in the evenings at Mission Playground. And I want to thank both Park and Rec and the General Manager for saying, let's do that. Let's do that, respecting the kids' wishes and understanding this is a part that is not conducive to that policy. But it's much bigger than Mission Playground, as mentioned by Supervisor Campos. And we get bigger with the additional demands, and that the community councils need to be created representing districts in the Park and Rec so that communities and neighborhoods and people who live there and use the parks can identify the programming for each of those parks. The next one is equity. We want to ensure that the money spent on parks is equitable throughout the city and equitable in the neighborhoods that are most dense, like the Mission. We want to ensure that there's a dedicated staff at Mission Playground, because that could have prevented quite a lot. The other is we want to make sure that there is sensitivity to the communities and understanding that there is a legal language access ordinance that this commission and this department must be in accordance with, and it's not. It's a charter ordinance that requires bilingual signs and staff that are available to speak to our community members, if needed, in their native language, and that's not occurring. So I thank you for the time, and I hope you listen to the community. And one last demand is that after this is done, that we have a meeting and we follow up and we get the solutions for this issue, because again, it's much bigger than Mission Playground.
The day of the incident when all of this occurred, we all felt like we're getting taken out of our home, because we always go there to play soccer with our friends, go and make new friends with the community. So we didn't like the way they were being treated. And everyone here is saying that like what they did was wrong, but at the same time it's like they don't know we didn't know if it was like a real permit or like if not. So we decided to stay on the field. We decided to like not fight, but like how do I say it? Like we decided to stay there and like be as a team. We're always there as a group, and we like to stand our ground there. So we feel like a lot better about like having the situation, having a talk about it.
Thank you. Keep talking, guys.
Alright, so that park is our to-go place, and that's where we really like have fun. So not every day, but almost every day after school, we go. But then ever since like beginning of summer, you know how they have the little league practice and everything. So we wait for the little kids to finish playing, and then we're like, all right, it's our fun time. We get to play now. But then they come to us with the paper like, we have a field, you can't play, you gotta leave. And it's like, that's our stressless place. Like, that's where we go to have fun after school, after a long day at school. So we felt like we had to do something about it because it didn't happen once, it happened multiple times. So yeah.
Thank you. Who else?
I go to Everett Middle School, and I'm in the 8th grade, 13, and I felt kind of like mad because we was at the park, and then people were gonna come with the paper, and not just one time, like a couple times, and they're gonna tell me to leave, and then they start cussing me out, and like I was like disrespecting me, and like I don't know how to say it, but like you guys are like kicking out all Mission basically because you guys kicked out Mission Beacon, and now what's next? The park.
Thank you.
My name is Hector Gomez. I go to Abraham Lincoln High School. I'm 15 years old, and as he said about Mission Beacon, yeah, that's a program in Everett Middle School that I used to go to, and that was like my second home. I grew up like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, having like basically a family there, and they kicked them out too, so that sucked a lot. And now that we came to this park, try to shove paper in our faces, and it's not right, and try to mistreat my friend here, Nathan, and I don't think that's the right thing to settle the problems. I think we just work together, work on a solution. And we tried to work on it, but then they didn't understand. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hugo Vargas. I am the victim of getting kicked in the back. It was just unfair. I didn't deserve that. I was just trying to be a good kid. After that big argument, I was just like, what the heck? I didn't deserve this. And just me being stubborn, I didn't tell anyone because, no one's going to listen to me. I'm just a little 15-year-old. Who's going to listen to a 15-year-old? But now I know I got the city on my back, and it was just unfair for those people to just kick us off our home, our community. They've been there for months? We've been here for years. This is my family right here. These guys are my family. If I need something, I could depend on them. I don't want to ever lose them. It's just not fair. And I go home thinking, what if, I lose the park, I lose my family, I lose my home. So please, help and support.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gregory Garcia. I go to Mission High School, and I'm a freshman. And I've been going to the park since it first opened, and I met a lot of friends there. That's where I met these guys. Before I didn't know them, and then I went there and I started I met people. I made friends. I felt safe there. And yeah.
Thank you. That it, guys? Thank you very much. Thanks for coming here today.